Shalom, it's Eric from Holy Land Escape, and in this video called A Week in the Life of Israel, we will look at everyday life in Israel. I am often asked by potential visitors to Israel or by people who have an interest in Israel, what is it like being in Israel? So I thought that I would start just with the very basics of daily routines. First of all, unlike most Western countries, and unlike most countries in the world for that matter, in Israel, Sunday is a regular work day, the equivalent of Monday in most Western countries where children go back to school and where the work begins. In Israel is Sunday. Sunday morning, early in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, the roads are filled with traffic and Israelis go back to work. Israel pretty much has a 6-day work week, school week, or a 5.5-day school week, and I will explain. Sunday is a regular day, as any other day, in which all government offices are open, post offices, banks, and children go to school, parents go to work, etc., etc. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or in Hebrew as we say, Yom Rishon, which is day 1, is Sunday, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, are essentially the same. Sunset on Friday, or about 18 minutes before sunset on Friday, marks the start of Shabbat, or the Jewish Sabbath, the Jewish day of rest. And in Israel, the majority of businesses that close sometime early to mid-afternoon on Friday remain closed until Saturday night, or what's known as Motzei Shabbat, Saturday after it already gets dark outside. On Friday, bakeries in Israel across the country sell what's known as challah, or the braided bread. This is the traditional bread that's eaten on the Jewish Sabbath in the evening and in the day. And a lot of Israelis, even those Israelis who are not traditional or religious, will have a kind of festive meal and drink grape juice or wine and eat this braided bread, which is sold in the bakeries across the country on Fridays. So in addition to the Fridays every week, which are kind of like a half a day, half of a work day where most businesses close early, the eve of holidays are also like that. And there are 7 times throughout the year where different holidays are observed, where the eve of the holiday is similar to Friday. Although schools are usually not in session on the eve of the Jewish holidays. On the Sabbath in Israel, starting from couple hours before sunset on Friday until nightfall Saturday night, there is no public transportation, with the exception of the city of Haifa in the north, Israel's 3rd largest city, which is known to have a large secular Jewish population and Arab population. Haifa has public transportation on the Sabbath, but other cities do not, and the Israel train does not run on the Sabbath. However, there are what they call shared taxis, or moniot sheirut. These are taxis that fit about 11 people, 10 to 11 people inside, and a lot of them have regular routes, similar to bus routes. The day of rest in Israel is observed differently by different kinds of Jews. Traditional Jews attend the synagogue on the Sabbath and have festive meals with their family and friends, and driving is forbidden. So we usually walk to the synagogue, which in Israel there are synagogues very close by. For instance, we have a synagogue right next to our home. And since most Jews are off work on Shabbat, secular Jews who don't follow all of the Jewish laws pertaining to the Sabbath often will go to the beach on Shabbat or go to some of the attractions with the family, maybe the zoo. In certain areas, shopping is open. Saturday night after nightfall is when we return to the weekday routines and when the businesses start to reopen again. What about banks, post offices, government offices? This is a very interesting discussion. The term banker's hours in Israel has a completely different meaning than in most other countries. In Israel, banks are generally open Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from about 8:30 in the morning until about 1:30 or 2, depending on the bank, and then they close. Banks are closed in the afternoon. And 2 days a week, usually on Mondays and Thursdays, banks will open from 8 to 2, and then they will reopen from about 4 in the afternoon until 7 in the evening. And most banks in Israel are closed on Friday or on the eve of the Sabbath. Post offices and Israeli government offices, for instance, the Ministry of the Interior, where people go to get their identification cards or to apply for a driver's license or to pay the utility bills, generally speaking, have similar hours where they will close in the afternoon, either at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then on certain days of the week, maybe 2 days a week, they will reopen later in the day, and other days of the week they won't. The origin of the practice of closing at 1 or 2 in the afternoon is what they call the siesta culture. Israel is a Mediterranean country. In the summer, the weather is quite hot. There's a lot of sun. And historically, this was a time when people would return home and take naps. And you see in a lot of kind of mom and pop stores where they followed that still very much, in addition to not only the Israeli government offices, but also small businesses generally will close at 1 or 2 in the afternoon and then maybe reopen later in the day, maybe not reopen in the day, depending. In Israel, the biggest meal of the day is lunch, which is generally eaten as a meat meal for those who eat meat. Dinner in Israel is had usually at 6 or 7 in the evening, is a much smaller meal, and usually is a dairy meal. Traditional Jews do not eat meat and dairy together. What do Israelis eat? Well, by far the most popular street food, or the equivalent of fast food, is the falafel. And falafel is not uniquely Israeli. However, it's popular in the Middle East. The neighboring countries of Egypt, Syria, Jordan also eat falafel. Falafel, essentially garbanzo beans that are grounded up, made into balls, and placed into pita bread with different kinds of salad, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and also the spices. Sometimes they'll put food that's a little bit kind of sauce that's spicy. Also, chips, what Israelis call chips or French fries, are popular to put inside falafels. Hummus, which is also a kind of sauce with garbanzo beans, or tahina, which is grounded up sesame seed, is also popular. Once again, Holy Land Escape hopes to see everyone here in Israel sometime soon. And please comment, feel free to share. And if you have any other questions, or if you have any requests about specific aspects of Israeli society or everyday life in Israel that you want to focus on, please don't hesitate to ask us. Shalom from Israel.